Good morning, all, and Jai Sadgurudeo. Welcome to yet another awaited session to our weekly Sunday Satsang. I am Ravi and have joined this virtual Satsang from Texas. In the present era, our daily lives are perpetually consumed by the pursuit of meeting our physical and mental needs, as well as fulfilling our social obligations. Amidst the hustle and bustle of this fast-paced routine, the essential needs of our soul is often get overshadowed. Therefore, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to each and every one of us for taking your time and carving out previous time for your packed schedules to join us this virtual satsang, where we aim to nourish the needs of our soul. Our focus today will be delving into the profound insights of Swarved Wisdom. As we all know, Swarved holds a central place within the philosophy of Vihangam Yoga. The recitation of its verses, known as Dohe, has a profound ability to instill harmony and peace within our soul and mind, guiding us towards righteousness. Today we are joined by Srirang Dolasji from North Carolina, who is an individual who shares a deep connection with Vihangam Yoga. His spiritual journey has brought him too close to achieving great heights in spirituality. He is a beloved disciple of Lord Sadgurudeo. Srirang Dolasji has been blessed multiple times by his revered Guru. One of Srirang Dolasji's remarkable contribution lies in his ability to connect and correlate the teachings of Swarved with various other ancient scriptures. This interweaving of wisdom from different sources enhances our understanding of his spirituality and brings to the light and universal truth. Now let's turn our attention to Srirangji, who will elaborate on these benefits that we can all derive from profound wisdom encapsulated in Swarved. Over to you, Srirangji.
Thank you, Raviji. So, thank you, Raviji, and NAIVY for giving me this opportunity. The introduction that you gave, I think that was, too much for, me. I think you spoke many words which probably don't describe me. One thing is, I would like to say is I'm learning with all of you. And during this Swarved Gyan, I will request each one of you to correct me if I make any mistakes, because our purpose here is to understand the true meaning of what Sadgurudeo wants us to understand. We would like to stay true to the Siddhanta that Vihangam Yoga has. So I request everyone to correct me if I make any mistakes. So Jai Sadgurudeo everyone again. So as I said before, I'm also in learning phase. So we will make this interactive session. I will put my thoughts forward about how I understand this Doha. But again, after I am, done putting forward my thoughts, I would like to hear from all of you. I would like to learn from the wisdom that all of you, each one of you bring to the table. So with that, we'll get started. Can someone unmute and sing the Doha and then read the Bhashya?
Okay, Jai Sadgurudeo, I will try to take this opportunity. So Doha is, जिज्ञासु आए शरण आत्म समर्पण कीन सदगुरु भावनन्य में सार शब्द गति लीन। भाष्य। जिज्ञासु सदगुरु शरणागत हो, आत्म समर्पण करके उनकी अनन्य शरण भक्ति द्वारा सार शब्द को प्राप्त कर उसी में निरंतर लवलीन रहते हैं। जय सदगुरुदेव।
Thank you, Lalmani ji. So we will try to first understand, each word and see, and then we will try to understand the whole meaning. So here, at the very high level, Sadgurudev is, talking about attaining Almighty or attaining the God, attaining the stage of God realization. And the qualities that a disciple should have to basically achieve that feat. So if we look at each word here, I would like to actually start with the word Sara Shabda, because Sara Shabda is basically the synonym for Almighty. We know that Shabda in Hindi means sound, and we also know that Almighty is the essence or the base or root of everything. So that also means that Almighty is basis of every sound that we have. However, we also know that there is no vibration in the Sara Shabda or Paramatma. It is basically a pure bliss. There is no physical sound. It is a ocean of eternal peace, and that is why it is called as Nishabda, or with no sound, also referred to as a Sara Shabda. Sar means basically essence, because it is at the root of creation. Paramatma is referred to as Sara Shabda here. It is everywhere. It is in each sound, but there is no vibration. So that is, I think that is why it is called as Sara Shabda. So once we understand that Sara Shabda means Paramatma, let's try to understand what Swamiji is saying here. What qualities a disciple should have to attain Almighty. So first one, Swamiji says that Jigyasu. So Jigyasu or the Jigyasa means curiosity or inquisitiveness. The Brahma Vidya knowledge is the way to attain Almighty. Once we have the pure or full understanding of Brahma Vidya, that is when we achieve a state of Jivan Mukta Atma. So it's a long process, but it starts with a Jigyasa. We should have curiosity to understand the knowledge. How to attain. Having this understanding of what is Jad, what is Chetan, what is the process that a disciple has to go through to attain Almighty. So this Jigyasa basically is going to help us gain the knowledge. The easiest way to gain knowledge is joining satsangs, because that is where this Brahma Vidya knowledge gets discussed. That is where the Brahma Vidya knowledge is shared. So that's the easiest way to fulfill desire for spiritual knowledge. That's the fastest way to understand this knowledge, because various people bring their perspectives on how to explain things. Again, even though we try to bring our own perspectives, our goal is to stay true to the the siddhanta that Vihangam Yoga siddhant. We don't want to deviate away. We might bring a few examples to help us understand that easily, but the attending satsangs is basically the easiest and best way to fulfill your jigyasa or the curiosity. And without curiosity, we will not have full understanding of this knowledge. So curiosity is very essential. In fact, if we look at Upanishads, those are basically the word Upanishada itself, can be, it's basically a Sanskrit word which is made up of two words, Upa, which is near, and Nishad means sitting down. So basically, when we put those two words together, which means that sitting near, at the feet of master, to understand this knowledge, right? So the Upanishads are basically the jigyasa or the inquisitiveness of a shishya and the answers given by the guru. So that is how the whole Upanishads came into existence. That depicts the the importance of curiosity or the inquisitiveness. Without curiosity, it is very difficult to gain knowledge. I mean, when we attend satsangs, we see that sometimes we don't know what questions to ask, but when other people ask question, you will get answers to your own questions, or sometimes you did not even know that this kind of question could be asked, or there is a knowledge that can be gained by simply asking a question. So jigyasa or the inquisitiveness is very, very important in spirituality. Without that, it is very difficult to make progress. Now, how can we, fulfill our jigyasa? Satsang is one of the, easiest and best way to fulfill your jigyasa or curiosity. Reading Swarved is another one. We know that Swamiji wrote Swarved in a state of Chetan Samadhi, where his consciousness was united with Almighty, and all the experiences that he had in that state, he basically wrote it in the form of verses, and that is what we are trying to understand. So reading Swarved is another way to stay connected with this knowledge, and understand Brahma Vidya. So we have these two very powerful means of gaining the knowledge. All we need, the knowledge is there, but it will only come to you if we have the curiosity, if we have that willingness to approach the knowledge and try to absorb it. And that is why curiosity is very important. Without curiosity, we will not learn anything. I mean, we can, if let's say there are two students, both go to the same class, the same teacher is teaching them. But if one student is curious, he is going to learn more compared to other student who is not curious. He is just, trying to sit in the class and just try to learn what is, taught in the class. But the real progress happens when it is like a thread. You have to catch the thread and then start pulling it, to gain more knowledge. So once you go to the class, your curiosity, the level of curiosity is going to set you apart from other students. And that is where we see that even though multiple students go to the same class, which then they are taught by the same teacher, the same subject, the understanding that they develop it varies based on how curious they are. And once you have curiosity, you will basically take the knowledge that you have learned in the classroom, and you will try to find more about it. That is where your knowledge becomes stronger, or you have that very the sound understanding of those concepts. And that is why having the curiosity is extremely important, not just in spiritual for the spiritual knowledge, but any kind of knowledge. The curiosity is very important. So jigyasu is very important. Having that quality, being jigyasu or inquisitive, is important in the spirituality. Not just spirituality, but in overall progress of your understanding or learning process. Next word is sharan. So here, Sharan literally means, you have to take shelter at the feet of the master. We know that without Sadhguru's grace, there is no way we can make progress in this spiritual, in our spiritual journey. And the reason why you have to take shelter is the Sadguru is the only entity who can make you understand this knowledge, or this knowledge will be flown into your soul. Like we go to different teachers to learn different subjects. Sadguru is the one who is the eternal master of the Brahma Vidya. So if you want to learn Brahma Vidya, the only master who holds that knowledge and can flow that knowledge into any soul is Sadguru. Without Sadguru's guidance, without Sadguru's grace, there is no way for any soul to attain this knowledge or gain this knowledge. And one thing that we have to understand, which is basically hard to believe, is we have to leave our intellect behind. The reason is this knowledge is beyond intellect. Swamiji always says that Almighty is beyond the limits of our physical organs. It is beyond speech. It is beyond our intellect. And that is the same reason why we are not able to perceive Almighty even when it is present everywhere. It is omnipresent. It is present in every single atom of this existence. It is present in us, and still we are not able to feel the presence of Almighty. And that is why, because our senses or our chetana, or the conscious energy or the conscious ray of our soul is not subtle enough, or it is not developed enough to sense the Almighty which is within you, which is very close to you. And we have to basically understand that our physical organs are the limits, because of these physical organs which can only interact with physical materials. We cannot sense Almighty. We have to go beyond. And that is why when we take shelter of Sadguru, we have to leave our intellect behind. We should even, we all are, in Hindi we call it buddhijivi. That means we are humans are blessed with the intellect. We have that intelligence that can, because of which we have made so much of progress. However, at the same time, the same intellect holds us back when it comes to spiritual progress, because the intellect can help you progress only in the materialistic world. It can only help you gain the physical knowledge, but it is also a limitation when it comes to spiritual knowledge or Brahma Vidya knowledge, because that knowledge can only be understood by a soul. That knowledge is for soul. And that is why we have to leave our intellect behind when it comes to spiritual knowledge. There is a saying that you should go to your master with empty bowl, and that's because you go there to gain knowledge. If you go there with the bowl full of something, your beliefs or whatever knowledge you have gathered, then how can your guru give you a knowledge in a bowl or the container which is already full? And that is why it is very essential to go with the open mind, take the shelter of Sadguru with very open mind, leave all of our beliefs away. Sometimes what Sadguru says is beyond our understanding. It is beyond our intellect. And that is where the true test of a disciple is. Are you willing to let go of your beliefs? Are you willing to surrender completely without any bias or any prejudice that you bring, based on your upbringing or what we have learned in the society. If we are not ready to let it go, it is very difficult to make progress. So that is why we have to take we have to go to the Sadguru with open mind, with empty ball, so that whatever knowledge our guru has to give, there is a place in our container, or in our soul, or in our brain, or whatever you want to call it. There has to be a space made available for that knowledge to seep in. So that's why having open mind, empty bowl concept is very important. Leaving our ideologies behind is important, which is very hard to do. And that is why Swamiji probably has written this doha saying, when you the word sharanagat is basically taking shelter is essential. Now when we go to in fact we have to have strong belief in what our guru has to say, what guru has to offer. In fact, if you read Udghosh, Swamiji says that yadi vidhivatatamu sadhana kariho amar loka pahuchaunga. What Sadguru says is, if you trust me with the process, and if you do the sadhan vidhivat, the vidhivat means exactly how it has been prescribed by me. If you do that, then you are going to make progress. Without doing vidhivat sadhana, we cannot make progress. So that is why having the surrendering, or that bhava is very important. The next one is Atma Samarpan. So in Atma Samarpan, we have to surrender everything. And it is not just Samarpan. Samarpan means surrendering. Atma Samarpan means we surrender ourselves. As if you read this Bhashya, Atma Samarpan is Jivan Dan. So basically, if you look at Jivan, what is the Jivan? The conscious entity that brings this body, makes this body alive, that brings the Chetna in the body. So Atma Samarpan is the whole, through your soul gets surrendered. And unless that state comes, we cannot make progress. So surrendering everything means including our soul. Our soul should surrender, basically. Because as we know, this is a conscious journey. This is not a journey of our indriyas. This is not journey of our body. This is not a journey where our body is going to help us. In fact, the final state is called as Videha Mukti, where this body is left behind. So, if we understand the concept, the physical organs, this body is not going to help us. So when we surrender, we have to surrender, as a soul, we have to surrender, not as a body or not as an intellect. Surrendering your intellect is first step, but it has to go much deeper than that. Our soul should surrender to Sadguru. And I know it is, it's very easy for me to say, even though I'm saying this, I don't know how do I achieve that state. I don't know, what is the practical way to do it. But at least as a first step, you have to understand that, your mind should be ready. That when Sadguru says something, we have to trust those words 100%, and just change our behavior, or take that as an order, and fulfill that order. So Atma Samarpan is important. Now basically, if you really look at it from other perspective, it is basically saying that there should not be any ego left. It's basically a path of purifying ourselves. When we surrender to the Sadguru, we basically surrender our karta bhav. Karta bhav is basically attitude which says that I am doing something or I am doing this. And if you really look at how the derailment of soul happens, that's the first step. That is where the contrary knowledge begins in the atma, where it thinks that all the bliss that is the soul experiences when it is in the union with Almighty, it thinks that this bliss is because of me. And that is where the derailment or the degradation of the soul happens, and ultimately we come into this body. So I think all this is kind of connected. Without letting go of our ego, that is probably the first thing that happens, brings the first knot of agyan, or the contrary knowledge. So we have to make sure that the ego is left behind, and when we surrender, we basically just do it fully. Again, it's easy for me to say it, don't know exactly how to achieve it, but I have full faith that one day Sadguru himself will teach all of us how to get into that state. So that is what I would pray to the holy feet of Sadguru, that one day each one of us understands how to get into that stage. These being Jigyasu, surrendering, taking shelter of Sadguru, surrendering to Sadguru with whole Atma Samarpan, are the essential qualities to attain Paramatma. However, if you look at it, the most important thing that Swamiji is trying to highlight in this doha is Sadguru Bhava Ananyame. So all these things we have to do in front of Sadguru, right? So even though our ultimate goal is basically to attain Almighty, the most important part of this dua is surrendering to the Sadguru. Without surrendering to Sadguru, we cannot attain Almighty. Swamiji always says that Prathama Milana Guru Fir Prabhu. So what Swamiji is saying here is, without Guru, there is no way we can unite with Almighty. And that highlights the importance of Guru or the Sadguru, not any other Guru, but Sadguru. Swamiji did not say that Guru Bhava Ananyame. Swamiji wrote here Sadguru Bhava Ananyame. As we discussed earlier, Brahma Vidya knowledge is only taught by Sadguru, and that is the only knowledge which will eliminate all the contrary knowledge that we have. That it is the knowledge basis of all knowledge. So unless we understand and the entire Brahma Vidya knowledge basically is flown into a soul, all these, we will still continue with these contrary beliefs, and we will still be limited with our physical knowledge. And that is why we have to surrender to the Sadguru, not any other Guru. So that is the importance here. Sadguru is the one who can help us achieve our ultimate goal. And there is basically no other way to unite with Almighty without uniting with the Guru. If we look at Guru Vandana as well, Guru Vandana says that it actually puts all this together. So Guru Vandana says that Jigyasu Panase Devu Shiksha. Who is that Guru Vandana? We are actually requesting or praying to the Guru, or not the Guru but the Sadguru, to give us this knowledge. So with this Jigyasu Panase Devu Shiksha is this Jigyasupan, with my curiosity, I am requesting to understand this Brahma Vidya knowledge. And from whom? Directly from the Sadguru. Now, if you look at Udghosh says that yadi vidhivata tum sadhana kariho amar loka pahuchaunga. So Swamiji also says that ava gaman mitaunga. So who is saying that? Sadguru entity itself saying that I will do it if you follow the process as exactly as prescribed by me. The responsibility of taking soul to Amarlok or uniting a soul with Almighty is that guarantee is given by Sadguru. And with those words, I think we can understand the power of Sadguru and the importance of Sadguru in our spiritual journey. So again, if you look at that proclamation, it was made by Sadguru himself. So basically, all the literature that Swamiji has written in the state of Samadhi, we see that it gives the same message. It explains how important the Sadguru is in a disciple's life to attain Almighty. And Swamiji always says, in multiple Amritvanis, Swamiji has said that Almighty will give you everything, all the pleasure in this world, everything that you need as a human, or not as a human, for every shariradhari, or every animal that lives on this planet. You call it animal, cell, virus, bacteria, whatever you want to call it. Any pleasure they want, Almighty will give them. However, what Almighty doesn't give is himself. And Swamiji also says that only Sadguru is capable of giving Almighty. Now, this people might question this, right? How is this? Why, if Almighty is everywhere, he is the supreme power, why does he not give himself, based on how a person is behaving, or how the behavior is? Why only Sadguru? If you really think about it, it is a very clever and divine design. It is probably beyond our understanding. If just imagine that if Almighty can give himself, a question might arise of being partial, why, or favorism, right? Why Almighty decided to give salvation to one soul versus other, right? And we know that Almighty is basically not doing any karma, right? He is a karma. He is just there as a witness of everything. And I think that is why the divine design is for Paramatma or Almighty not to give himself, because that is an action which is happening. Also, that can arise a question of partiality. He's saying why Paramatma decided to give salvation to one soul versus other. And I think that is why the decision of who can unite with Almighty is not the decision that Almighty makes himself. That decision is left to Sadguru. So it is very divine design. Initially, it was very difficult for me to understand, but this concept helped me, or this thought process helped me to understand why it makes perfect sense. So it seems like counterintuitive, but that is, I think, that is how the divine design is. In fact, it's, I don't know if this exactly fits into this narrative, but I would still like to put this example forward. So the best way for siblings to share a single sandwich is when one sibling cuts it and another sibling basically chooses which portion he or she gets, right? And that way, basically, it is an impartial way to make a decision, or a decision where sandwich gets cut exactly in the half. It's if elder sibling is given the right to make all the decisions, then there can be partiality, saying, because I am elder, I'm going to take bigger half for myself and going to leave smaller half for the younger sibling, right? So this analogy might help you understand why this divine design works, and why it is probably made that way. I don't know if that makes exact, it fits that narrative, but I thought that this example might help, leaving decision to someone else who will be impartial. So so basically, even though Almighty is always impartial, we know that he is the knowledge of Almighty never changes. It remains at the same level, and it is paripurna, or complete with knowledge. This design basically makes sure that there is no room for any doubt about who attains Almighty. And hence basically the Sadguru makes this decision. And the best part is Sadguru will not just make decision, but throughout the process Sadguru is going to guide us. He is going to do the hand holding. He is going to basically give us a proper path to attain this our ultimate goal. All we have to do is basically surrender to the ultimate decision maker and the ultimate guide of how to attain Almighty. So I think that is what Swamiji is trying to say here. I probably took a little liberty to introduce some of my thought process into this. If I have made any mistakes, or if I have deviated too much from Swamiji's Siddhanta, please correct me. But with this, I would stop here and hand control back to Raviji.
Thank you, Srirangji. Do anybody have any questions?
Yes, Sadgurudeo. So it was very nice explanation, Srirangji. Thank you very much. But during your explanation, there were a few, I would say, heavy words, maybe for a few people. And I know that your analogy is very good. You explain normally things very well. So that's why I'm just asking a few questions, if you can elaborate more on that. One of the statement that you said is that Paramatma is beyond intellect. So many a time I mean, at least with me, I know that I don't know where is my intellect ending, and how, I mean, I'm not able to perceive or kind of understand, what does that mean? Where the intellect ends, there starts the existence of Paramatma, or at least, to reach to Paramatma, your intellect doesn't help. Can you just elaborate more on this so we all can understand? Thank you.
Thank you, Lalmanji, for that question. It is, I think, difficult to explain, but I'm going to try to explain it with what I heard from one of the shows that I watched on Netflix. So, basically the explanation that was given was about a higher dimension. So currently we know that there are 3 dimensions, right? So with the 3-dimensional model, we can represent any point in this universe, and we can exactly pinpoint where it is. And that is what beyond 3rd dimension we cannot think. So for us, the 3 dimensions basically is the limit to what we can explain, what we can perceive, what we can see, and what we can represent. That is where the I don't want to say science ends, but our general understanding ends. And how do we understand that there is a higher dimension, right? How can we perceive that? For that, the explanation that they gave was, imagine that you are living in a 2D world where you just have X and Y coordinates. There is no Z coordinate to represent third dimension, right? So for you, because you're living in a two-dimensional world, you cannot perceive that there is a higher dimension. The Z coordinate is there, which can help you basically elevate yourself to next dimension. And that is where our perception ends, living in 2D model. And I think that is exactly how this, spiritual, higher dimension exists, which is beyond our physical imagination. We cannot imagine anything beyond third dimension. We can just find a point or coordinate in 3D or the 3 dimensions, but if you talk about 4th dimension, we cannot imagine how to represent it, right? And that is where our intellect is struggling to understand the Almighty, because it is beyond these 3 dimensions. These 3 dimensions are within Prakriti. In fact, the buddhi is also a jad entity. It is made up of Sat, Raj, and Tama. These 3 gunas of Prakriti. So that is why it is very difficult for us to imagine that there is a dimension higher than what we can perceive with these physical organs. And if you talk to realized yogis, right, they can tell you that, in fact, yogi can actually just look at another yogi and understand that that person is a elevated being. We cannot do that. That doesn't mean that it is that person is not elevated person. Again, the other example that I took was Almighty being present everywhere, and we are still not able to perceive it, and that is because it is in a different dimension. You can imagine that we are in kind of a bubble, and until we come out of our bubble, we cannot explore the world which is beyond bubble. And that is where the buddhi is basically inside that bubble. That the reach of our knowledge or reach of our buddhi or intellect can go up to certain extent, and Almighty is beyond that plane. I think maybe I'm not sure if I'm explaining it properly, but that is what I can think of, again, using my own intellect or what I have heard on some of the science shows that I watched, and also listening to Sadhguru's Vani. In fact, there is a Santa Prabhuji says, I'm actually not able to recollect it fully. It says that परमात्मा हर जगह मौजूद है, फिर क्यों नजर आता नहीं. I'm not able to recollect the exact words. And then there is a second line which actually explains why, and unfortunately I'm not able to recollect that. If someone can recollect that, please share. But that is where it explains, even though it is everywhere, we cannot experience it because of our physical limitations. So I'm not sure if I was able to answer your question, but that is all I can think of right now.
Thank you very much, Srirangji. So in a simple word, probably I take it as when you say that intellect is jad, buddhi is jad. I take it like, okay, say somebody is a very intellectual person, and if I take the analogy, I have a car that represents my intellect. That car has a very powerful engine, very big tank with full gas, very shiny, very new car, kind of a brand new car. And somebody gave me a goal to achieve some point. So I'm ready with my intellect, kind of ready with the car, with the full tank and very powerful engine, and kind of I start driving to reach to that uh, point where I would say that I'm ready. I started with that, but the problem comes when I came to know that my higher dimension, when you're talking, so higher goal is actually the say 50,000 high from the sea level. That is my point to reach. So in spite of having my car with the powerful engine, full tank, even if I spend whole day and night and months through the car, I cannot reach that high because the goal is at a 50,000 height, so for that my car doesn't help. Probably I need to take help of aeroplane or rocket or something else. Probably I take it as that, so intellectual, basically the intellect ends right there. It doesn't have that dimension to go to that z axis. We can just move only x and y, 2-dimensional, something like that, right? So,
Yes. Yeah, and also while you're saying, right, I realized that we talked about Jad, but we did not explicitly talk about Chetan. Because there are two, that's the difference between soul and the body. So soul is basically a conscious entity, and the dimension, the maybe the fourth dimension that we cannot access right now is the conscious dimension. And that can only be accessed by soul. Another thing to look at it is the sukshmata. So we know that going bigger doesn't necessarily be means that you are being powerful. In physical world it is exactly opposite. We see that the cars with bigger engine are more powerful, but in Adhyatma it is exactly opposite. The more subtle you become, the more powerful you become, or your energy level or your abilities, I would say, increase. If you compare Paramatma with any other entity, we know that Paramatma is the sukshma se sukshma, or the tiniest entity, or the most subtle entity that we have, and that is how it is omnipresent, being so subtle that it can be present everywhere at once. That is not possible with our soul, right? Because the sukshmata, or the tininess, I don't know if tininess is the correct representation of the sukshmata, but there is a lot of, I would say, baggage that we carry around, and because of that we cannot pass through that small dimension that we have to attain Almighty. If you actually talk about the fifth level, where soul gets guided by Sadguru to unite with Almighty, we have learned that our the Chetana, or the Chetan Shakti of Atma, which is called as Surati, has to still become further subtle. All the at that point we are already in our Chetan state, not full Chetan state, but in way more, I would say, way better than what we are today. Even that state is not enough to unite with Almighty, and that is where the Surati has to become more subtle, become Nirati, and then only we can unite with Almighty. So if you really look at it, we are actually adjusting our dimensions to become subtler and subtler, to the extent that we can be compatible with Almighty. Again, I don't know if that's the correct word to use, but for lack of better word, I think we have to make ourselves compatible to understand or unite with Almighty. And that is what I think, that is why Buddhi is not able to understand that, because it is more, it is way grosser than the Almighty. So until your Buddhi becomes so sukshma, and again, that's where the jad things cannot experience chetan entities, and that is why I think it is very hard to explain for me. I think Vijayji probably would be explaining it way better. In fact, Lalmanji, you can also explain it way better. But I think that is what I'm trying to say. I'm struggling for words, but being sukshma or being subtler is the key here. That is where the we can access next dimension.
Yeah, thanks, Srirangji.
I think Garimaji has one question. She has raised her hand.
Jai Sadgurudeo to everyone. I have one question. Obviously, the Sush and Stool is very high level, and by the time I wanted to ask if you can just clearly for everybody state the Vidhivat Sadhan Vidhi. What is the exact Vidhivat Sadhan would incorporate like? Thank you.
So, what I would say, we can connect you, Garimaji, separately. Is it fine with you to state the entire complete process of the Vidhivat Sadhan? So that it's...
So I'm already been initiated, and I know, but I just wanted again if you can just reiterate what is the methodology. I know the methodology, but for everybody's, if you don't mind, is it possible or not?
Yeah,
Whatever you suggest.
yes. So I would request Vijayji, if you're on call, please take this question and explain to everybody.
Yeah, Jasudev, everyone. Jasudev, Garimaji. Have you joined from UK, Garimaji, or you're in US?
Yes, I'm from UK, from London. I'm speaking. Yeah.
UK.
Thank you.
Okay, you got time to join us. Welcome.
Yes, always. I listen to your YouTube thing also. It's so like I think so most of the survey Vihangam Yoga knowledge I've gained from US Satsang only, to be honest. So I really appreciate that's why I could ask this question. Though I know exactly what is the thing, and we had Swamiji here in UK, and you आप लोगों के पास भी वहाँ पर US में भी आए थे स्वामीजी. तो प्लीज आप एक और बार बताएंगे वो विधिवत साधन जो है, तो यदि विधिवत साधन करियो, that one, please.
There is one more component in Vidhivat Sadhan, which is about Sadguru. So I would first start with one very divine Sansmaran about Sadgurudeo. We all know that the Bhagavad Gita is composed of 701 shlokas, right? So, and we know that the Vartaman Sadgurudeo has done the Bhashya, the explanation of those dohas. So there is a Vihangam Yoga owned book on Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, which is composed by Vartaman Sadgurudeo. So the way this Bhagavad Gita was written, basically the Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita was composed by Sadgurudeo is very, very divine. Sadgurudeo said, okay, so it has about 700 slokas. So that means I need to do the Bhashya of 2 doha every day. So on an average in a year, I will be able to complete it. 2 dohas every day. Swamiji was on a prachar tour. During that year when this Bhashya was completed, Swamiji was on a prachar tour. And last few months, Swamiji was with Sachidanand Bhaiya and Buddhadev Bhaiya. My own Bhaiya, actually Buddhadev Bhaiya is my Bade Bhaiya, and Sachidanand Bhaiya is my maternal uncle's son. Mamere Bhaiya. And they were with Swamiji 24 hours. And you know that when you were with Swamiji, then all the nitty-gritty, things you take care so that Swamiji does not have to worry for little things. Anybody offering something, or you have to pass on something from Swamiji to someone, you become the medium for that. So when Swamiji was on the trip, they all knew that Swamiji has to write Bhashya for 2 Doha every day to complete Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. And they were utterly surprised. Swamiji was on a tour. Swamiji will come back. It will be night. Swamiji will sleep. Swamiji will wake up. Swamiji will again go for a tour. And the days just went by that. They did not see Swamiji holding a pen to write the Bhashya for Bhagavad Gita. And when the 1 year was over, Swamiji gave a piles of papers to Buddhadev Bhaiya and said, "Today this is complete. Please go and take it to Juicy Ashram for printing." And both of them, Sachidan Bhaiya and Buddhadev Bhaiya, started looking at each other. Swamiji is saying, "Today it is complete. For past 2 months, I have not seen Swamiji holding a pen. All I see him is busy in the program and then taking rest, wake up, and then again back to the same routine." There was no occasion where they saw Swamiji holding a pen to write the Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita. And they were all thinking, within their mind, looking at each other. And Swamiji says, "आप लोग जो सोच रहे हैं वह सही ही है. Whatever you guys are thinking is actually right. मन एक बार में एक चीज कर सकता है ना. This limitation is with the mind, that the man, that it can do only one thing at a time. लेकिन सदगुरु तो अनंत चीजें कर सकता है ना एक क्षण में. But Sadguru can do infinite things at a single moment. So when we are talking about Sadguru, we see walking, talking, sleeping, eating Sadguru. At one instance, the form, the personality that is in front of us. But what other actions Sadguru is taking from which level is not in front of us. We often get confused with his one instance of representation, which is a human representation in front of us. We get confused because what we see is the peripheral human representation of Sadguru. And we see him walking, talking, eating, sleeping, doing pravachan. But that is just one peripheral human instance of Sadguru. But what Sadguru is doing, along with having his representation in front of us, only Sadguru knows. Nobody can know how he does. And to their surprise, to Buddhadev Bhaiya and Sajan Bhaiya's surprise, Sadguru also handed over the piles of paper which had the handwritten translation, the Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita. And they know that Sadguru himself wrote it because the handwritings were of Sadgurudeo. So what does it mean? It means Sadgurudeo is writing that also in some other instance of his existence. And they were saying that, during those Prachar Yatra, they were actually sleeping in the same room where Swamiji was sleeping. Swamiji was on the bed and they used to sleep on the ground. And where did Sadgurudeo bring those piles of paper is also a mystery for them. So they were just making these assumptions. Then it simply means that Swamiji, though was sleeping here in the room, but Swamiji might be in Juicy Ashram or somewhere writing those every day while we see him sleeping on the bed here. And then every day, Swamiji is doing that 2 slokas every day. And then once 1 year is over, Swamiji is also able to bring those piles of papers from God knows where to the same place in the Prachar Daura. During the Prachar Daura, Swamiji is on the trip, on the go. Ideally, all these papers should have been handled by Sachidanand Bhaiya or Buddhadev Bhaiya every day. But they didn't know from where Swamiji brought those papers and said, today the Bhashya is complete. Please go get it printed in Juicy Ashram. And Buddhadev Bhaiya took those papers to Juicy Ashram and then came back for the further journey in Prachar Daura. That means Prachar Daura was still on. It was not that it was done. During those Prachar Daura, during those trips in disseminating this knowledge, Sadgurudev divinely wrote Bhagavad Gita Bhashya. So what it means is the Vidhivat sadhan that we want to attain, the primemost ingredient of the Vidhivat sadhan is Guru Bhakti. Only when we realize that Prabhu Prasad Sadguru Daya Mana Hoye Swadhin, अन्य युक्ति कोई नहीं लगे सदगुरु चरण अधीन. Only when we realize the opportunity that we have today when Sadgurudev is with us, then we will know that no money, no time is enough for us to say that if I give this much to Sadguru, then that is enough for me, for my seva. Because only with great fortune, only with rarest fortune, the time of Sadguru will come for you. Sadguru is here with you, with us in America. This is the greatest fortune for us. Swamiji sometimes also openly says about it that हाँ ये तो महाभारत काल से सदगुरु का इंतजार कर रहे हैं. Sometimes Swamiji will be little open about how rare it is that we have the time with Sadgurudev today. हाँ ये तो वैदिक काल से इंतजार कर रहे हैं और ये तो रामायण काल से इंतजार कर रहे हैं, ये तो महाभारत काल से इंतजार कर रहे हैं. Sometimes Sadguru opens up about this. और कहते हैं कि देखिए आज भी मैंने इनको चिताया, लेकिन देखिए आज इनका संस्कार ऐसा है कि ये सदगुरु की तलाश कर रहे थे, लेकिन आज इनको चिताने के बाद भी ये मौका को पकड़ नहीं पाए. Even after I reminded him of Sadguru's presence, but today this person, this fellow has certain sanskara which has prohibited him to come in the shelter of Sadguru. Though he was looking for Sadguru for yugas, forget about just one Kali Yuga. From Satyug or from Dwapar Yug, their souls were waiting for the right opportunity where the soul is in the human form and the Sadguru is present in the human form. And so nothing can compare with the opportunity that we have today. No matter how much we offer is less in front of the grace, the blessings that the God has given to us in terms of having time with Sadgurudeo. And that time in America is going to end in this trip tomorrow when Swamiji will depart from America to India. Swamiji has said that this opportunity will continue to come for America every year if we make the residence for Sadgurudeo. If we make the residence for Sadgurudeo, I would say our life will be worth if we can contribute to the best of our ability for the construction of Acharya Nivas as soon as possible in America. Our life will be worth if we can do that much also in this life. So we must ponder upon this, make the best opportunity for our own growth by having Sadguru in America as often as possible. And Sadguru Dev has also openly said this about Acharya Nivas in America. Sadguru wants Navy members to take this opportunity. Sadguru wants Navy members, North America Institute of Vihangam Yoga members to take this opportunity. I just want to give a glimpse of what it means, because it is important for us to understand. When Sadguru wants to give something big to any Shishya, just like any examination, only when you qualify that examination, then you're promoted to certain things. What Srirangji started with the Doha, he said, Jigyasupan se dehu shiksha. The very next stanza after that is, Jigyasupan se dehu shiksha, kari pariksha rat raha. Swamiji constantly test the disciples. And when Swamiji is pleased with any disciple, then only he will take the final examination. He will test thoroughly. And then when he finds, yes, this Shishya is truly surrendered to me, he will test our surrendership. Are we surrendered just in words, or we have truly surrendered our life? Jivandan, Atma Samarpan is Jivandan, meaning surrendering our life itself, meaning aligning our life to the goals of what Sadgurudeo wants. That is Jivandan. When you live for Sadguru, Jivandan means you live for Sadgurudeo. That is Jivandan. So more intense become our spiritual goal, more intense will be the examination also by Sadgurudeo, so that Sadgurudeo timely can give us the blessings and the energy and the power and the siddhis and anubhav, the experience. For that, Sadgurudev has to test. When we qualify, Sadgurudev then blesses. And Sadgurudev test hard, please believe me. Sadgurudev is soft and hard both at the same time. Sadgurudev will not leave any opportunity of you losing this battle. So Sadgurudev will harden you. Sadgurudev will prepare you very hard before he gives you the spiritual wealth to you, so that you don't lose it. He will make sure that your patra, our patra, is capable enough to hold the spiritual wealth that is going to deliver to us. And for that, he will test our nature, because this patra is made of the virtues. He will test our virtues. What virtue do we have in our character? Is it good enough to hold the spiritual wealth that Sadgurudev wants to give to us? If not, there'll be more exam. In that exam, even if we are failing, that is also good, because Sadgurudev wants us to realize our shortcomings through those failures. But if Sadgurudev is still allowing us to offer service, if we are still in the service, in the seva, despite those failures, that means we are still in the process. Sadgurudev wanted us to fail and realize that these were the shortcomings. Now fulfill it. Fulfill it, do better with it, and next time do what is supposed to be done. So Sadgurudev is very kind. Sadgurudev is very kind. Even in hardship of seva that Sadgurudev gives to us is a hidden mercy and kindness. And this has been my and many disciples' personal experience, that every hardship that we make for Sadguru, whether it be physically, mentally, financially, or any form, you will later only feel blessed, and you'll feel grateful that you could get a chance to do it, because what Sadguru does afterwards, you cannot even imagine. In what different ways Sadgurudev rewards his disciple, you cannot even imagine at this point of time. So all these smarans about Sadgurudev and the way he functions is just to reignite within us what Sadguru we are dealing with today. What is the opportunity that we have today in the form of Vartaman Sadgurudev? Though you think that he is walking, talking, but he is constantly working at a different divine zone. And Sadguru Dev does not say anything casually. We think that he is saying things casually, but there are some meanings that you will come to know only when you progress in your life about that. So about NAIVY ashram, the day I heard it, about the Vihangam Yoga ashram, the day I heard it, that Sadguru Dev wants we Shishya in America to make this ashram. That day I realized, oh my God, Sadguru Dev is finally paying attention to our growth. Sadguru Dev really wants us to pay attention to this opportunity, so that Sadguru Dev wants to prepare us to the next level now. So it is up to us now to grab this opportunity, no matter how much hardship we have to take in our life. But we have to make Sadguru Acharya Nivas in America with our own cumulative effort. We should not let this opportunity slip to anybody else. We all NAIVY members must do our best to at least build the Acharya Nivas in time. And then the ashram constructions, which is a bigger project, Sadguru Dev has decided to take the seva from somebody else along with us. But Acharya Nivas specifically, Swamiji wanted Navy members to do their best for the construction. This is a very great opportunity for us. Very great opportunity. We are not realizing how fortunate we are. Swamiji says, सबसे मैं सेवा लेता नहीं, मैं सेवा लौटा भी देता हूँ. Swamiji does not accept seva from everybody. Only chosen ones. When Sadgurudev agrees for the seva opportunity comes to us, and we have this opportunity with us only because Sadgurudev has chosen us for our upliftment, for something divine that we don't know. We don't know. Sadguru knows. We are very fortunate about it. So one of the topmost ingredient for Vidhivat sadhan is this very feeling that you may have right now for Sadgurudev. This very feeling about सार शब्द गुरु एक है या में भेद न मान, भेद मान भवकूप पड़े निर्भेदी निर्वाण. When we understand that the Sadgurus whose sanidhya we are going to get tomorrow for the last day in this trip is invaluable, invaluable. Our one day, time with Sadgurudev cannot compare to your whole month of salary of or whole year of salary of whatever job you are doing. One day of Sadgurudev Sanidhya is more valuable than that. We will realize that when we meditate and spiritually reach to a level where you start experiencing what Sadgurudev is in reality. We're very fortunate about it. So Vidhivat sadhan, the first ingredient is this very sense of devotion and this very sense of acceptance that Sadguru is going to do everything in my Vidhivat sadhan, in my sadhan. Sadguru is the doer. I am only one to get into the process. But Sadgurudev is the doer in my Vidhivat sadhan. And that's why daily prayer is one of the integral part of Vidhivat sadhan. That's why every day, in fact, the complete Vidhivat sadhan begins with prayer to Sadgurudev. First, we should pray to Sadgurudev. Whatever mode of prayer we have learned, Swagat Gan, Mangal Gan, Vandana, Aarti, Shanti Path, do the prayer with utmost devotion in our heart so that you are disconnected from the whole world and you are filled with Sadguru devotion before you sit for meditation. Sadgurudev says that the Vidhivat sadhan includes the Vidhivat prayer also to Sadgurudev. And then you settle yourself physically, mentally, by making certain poses and also doing some breathing and then chanting Gayatri mantra and then eventually, setting your consciousness to the point of concentration. This is what is Vidhivat sadhan. Jai Sadgurudev.
Thank you, Vijayji.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, indeed, I want to, echo what Vijayji has said. Here, Satsang, Seva, and Sadhana are the three pillars of any spirituality. And Sadgurudev has blessed us with his presence in US and has hinted us to do seva from our tan, man, dhan, and building a Achar Nivas should be prime objective for all of us.
Yes, Sadgurudev, Ravishankar ji. I just wanted to express my bhav. So Vijay ji, I think he explained it in a very divine way, he summarized pretty much the essence of how to do bhakti. And there's multiple ways people can actually get there. The answer is exactly that, which is Seva Bhav. That is the origin of bhakti, which is our relationship to Guru and Govind is Das. We can only give and not ask for anything. That is the contract. This is the divine contract, which we call bhakti, and that is the only vehicle that takes a bhakt to Bhagwan. Bhakti Bhagwan. So you can imagine taking a space shuttle from the planet Earth to the planet Mars, let's say. So ये बहुत ही I would say, जैसे इन्होंने बताया कि this is very we are very lucky in a way. It's a small word to use to at least know what Sadhguru wants from us. That itself is a very, very big opportunity for the bhakts in the US. Very, very specific. And I think the only thing that I have to basically follow up with Vijayji is, please let us know what is the schedule, when the ashram has to be ready, and how, tan man dhan, like if somebody is capable by dhan, how much we can help contribute. Please feel free to tell us. I think we will do all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Niranjan ji. Yeah, today indeed we have some. We'll discuss that about, and we'll circulate the message across. But rightly said, Niranjan ji, bhakti is something like it is a state. By our mind, just imagining bhakti is not going to happen. So there are a set of actions we need to take. Seva Satsang Sadhana is the way, and Niyamit is the key, right? And the ultimate bhakti will happen only with the Sadguru Kripa. And Sadguru Kripa is equal to Sadguru Prasanna. Sadguru Prasanna is equal to whatever the desire or the direction or the Agya or the Nirdesh given by Sadguru. If we follow it, things will happen. So there are a set of sequence, even in this spirituality or the spiritual world, we need to follow it. And I think Vijayji and Sri Rangji has already said that, with the couplets and with Vijayji explaining with the Sansmaran and the intent of Sadhguru's presence in US recently. So there was a big and very big motive behind that. In Sadgurudev Amritvani, Swamiji has said that he himself was, there was exact word I'm not following, but the intent was he himself was, in some kind of a thing, how the ashram is going to be constructed in US, how the Vish Prachar will happen. So, Bade Swamiji, Sadhguru Sadafal Devji Maharaj has already did the Bhavishwani in his Samadhi's avastha. And he just said that, okay, this has just happened now. Like for last 6 months or 1 year, nobody was knowing, like this will happen, this is going to happen. Nobody has any idea in US. So Sadhguru Dev knows what is the, things, what all events is going to happen. He sees the past, he sees the present, he sees the future. Past, as Vijayji has said, that he sees the past of each and every soul, from Satyug to Dwapar to Treta Yug to Kali Yug. He sees the future of the soul also. So he knows each and every state of mind of each soul, what is his level of sadhana, what is his level of spirituality. And based on that, he knows how to correct him. Now for us, this is an auspicious opportunity, or you can say like opportunity of your lifetime, to participate in this, the most sacred thing we could have ever do. Think it as a yajna, and you know, try to be a part of Sadgurudev's, the desire or the spiritual mission, you know. So seeing like the time has already, I'm doing the time check, it is already 11. So if anybody have any further things to add in a brief, they can do that. Else we will move to the last segment of the satsang. So we are almost at the last segment of the screen, but before going to the prarthana, I would like to say like NAIVY is conducting a Brahmurat sadhana, where people used to join at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning of their own time zone, and you do your sadhana, and there is a WhatsApp group. Once you are done with your sadhana, you just do a thumbs up over there, or done messages texted on that group. So for there are two segments of it. One is Warrior of the Week. Warrior of the Week is like regularly people who are waking up in the Brahm Muhurat and doing the sadhana for a continuous long period of time. And there is inductees of the week, means in a given week, anyone can do just one or two, but not regularly the whole week. We call them as inductees. So this week we have Surya Alam, Raju ji, Tejender ji as a Warrior of the Week. And as inductees, we have Amit Talekar ji, Bhagwati Patel ji, Tipti ji, Lalmani ji, Maya ji, Om Sai Ram ji, Ranjita ji, Srirang ji, Tanuja ji, and Yogesh Sagar ji. Thank you so much. There is no session to join. Once you are part of that group, you just need to text to that group, and that's it. If anybody is interested to do a Brahmurat sadhana, please let me know. I'll add you to that group. Thank you. Now we have reached the last page of today's satsang. In the Santi part, we chant for peace for everyone who exists in this universe. May Sadgurudeo bless the entire cosmos with peace, love, and prosperity. I would now request Dev ji to recite the last few lines of Santi part for us.
Shanti Path. Hey Prabhu Shanti Sarupa Ho, Shanti Shanti Maya Shanti, Shanti Shanti Jana Shanti Ho, Purna Shanti Maya Shanti. Hey Prabhu Shanti Pradana Kara, Durho Sarva Shanti, Deva Sada Phala Shanti Maya, Shanti Shanti Sukha Shanti. Sadgurudeo. Thank you.
Thank you, Dev ji, for beautifully singing Vandana, Arti, and Santi part. Thank you, Srirang ji, for sharing the Swarved Wisdom with us. Thank you, Vijay ji, for explaining the meaning of Niyamit and Vidhivat Sadhana. And thank you all the participants for making this satsang a successful satsang, and hope we learn from today's satsang and we incorporate those in our daily lives and slowly move towards the ultimate goal of spirituality and do the needful. So as we know, NAIVY has been conducting this Sunday virtual satsang and Vihangam Yoga initiation workshops over USA and North America over the last few years. Any queries related to this can be sent to an email to info@vihangamyoga.org. And we all will be meeting next Sunday satsang at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the same Zoom meeting. Till then, you all have a wonderful day and a week, and Jai Sadgurudev to all of you.